Okay, remember that they are changing my voice. This video is about why Proverbs 34 proves that I am Christ, and that it must be referring to the top martial artist ever possible in the Royal African Falcon top martial arts order when we consider Galatians 3:28, Amos 9:7, and Genesis 10, and how it combines with these things with 1 Samuel 17 and Revelation 19 and Exodus 15:3, and so on and so forth. I'm going to have to go quickly to keep it under 10 minutes, so watch this several times. Okay, this is the intro. I'm going to break it down into parts here. Point number 1 of the intro. The person trying to explain Proverbs 34 needs hours to overkill that they are right. Obviously, if they're right. They will be persecuted or they are wrong by default. We see that in Matthew 5, Paul's letters, etc. That's why I have a series that's around 4 hours long explaining why I'm right about it. Point number 2. Therefore, we cannot look at the explanations of the Bible in the way that the white Jew and LGBT supremacists want us to. They're not meant to be explanations done by scholars, so to speak, right, with fancy degrees. But they're meant to be explanations of truth that's given by people who are truly moral and given through persecution. We also see this in Isaiah 28:17, where it shows us that the interpretation must be logical, and you must use justice as the measuring line and righteousness as the plume line for the interpretation of the word, for the spirit of somebody to measure someone's fruit, to measure things. Okay. Now, with that being said, I'm going to break this into, 6 or 7 parts, and I'm going to deliver you the true explanation of Proverbs 34 and why it proves definitively that I am Christ. Okay, so if you go to Proverbs 1 about wisdom's rebuke in verse 20, out in the open wisdom calls aloud, she raises her voice in the public square. On top of the wall she cries out, at the city gate she makes her speech. How long will you who are simple love your simple ways? How long will mockers delight in mockery and fools hate knowledge, right? Spiritual knowledge. Repent at my rebuke, then I will pour out my thoughts to you. I will make known to you my teachings. We'll get to Proverbs 7, where it talks about drinking deeply of love, and we'll compare that to people who drink the wine of violence. You'll see how it connects. But since you refuse to listen when I call and no one pays attention when I stretch out my hand, since you disregard all my advice and do not accept my rebuke, I in turn will laugh when disaster strikes you. I will mock when calamity overtakes you. When calamity overtakes you like a storm, when disaster sweeps over you like a whirlwind, when distress and trouble overwhelm you, then they will call to me, but I will not answer. They will look for me, but will not find me. Right? Many will call my name and will not answer. Right? It's wisdom speaking as an angle from God through Christ, through me. Since they hated knowledge and did not choose to fear the Lord, since they would not accept my advice and spurned my rebuke, they will eat the fruit of their ways and be filled with the fruit of their schemes. Think the wedding banquet, the Last Supper. We'll get to that. For the waywardness of the simple will kill them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. Smugness, complacency. But whoever listens to me will live in safety and be at ease without fear of harm. Obviously, spiritual safety, right? Christ, John the Baptist, Stephen the martyr, and more were killed. So in the footnotes it says that the Hebrew for simple in Proverbs denotes a person who was gullible, without moral direction, and inclined to evil. Okay, and that a fool in Proverbs, and often elsewhere in the Old Testament, denotes a person who is morally deficient. That is key. Write that down. Okay, so in Proverbs 3, verse 15, it says that wisdom is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are pleasant, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her, and those who hold her fast will be blessed. By wisdom the Lord laid the foundations, and by understanding he set the heavens in place. By his knowledge the watery depths were divided, and the clouds let drop their dew. So just like in the Proverbs 1 where it's talking about the storm, okay, it's talking about the whirlwind. Here we have the water, which goes back to Proverbs 34, right? His hands gather and up the water, right? He holds the wind in his hands, holds the winds in his fist, gathers the wind with his hands, what have you. Okay? It says, by wisdom the Lord laid the earth's foundations. By understanding he set the heavens in place. By his knowledge the watery depths were divided, and the clouds let drop the dew. My son, do not let wisdom and understanding out of your sight. Preserve sound judgment and discretion. These are life principles and martial art principles. This is key here. Okay? So from this section, we can ascertain a connection between water and wisdom. One must live wisdom to be part of the tree of life. God divided the watery depths with wisdom, separating the spiritually pure, holy, righteous water of life from the spiritually filthy water of rebellion, and he did so with wisdom. The spiritual clouds of heaven drop the reproductive dew of God's holiness, godliness, and righteousness by wisdom, right? Figuratively speaking, and if I was to make love, like literally speaking, right? And figuratively and spiritually. One must separate making love in the pure Royal African Falcon Tom martial arts order from LGBT acts and other sexual acts of mere horny rebels. God is love and the source of life, right? The source of the water of life, the tree of life, etc. Okay, so in Proverbs 4, verse 17, it says, they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. Remember, in Proverbs 1, it says they're going to be full of the fruit of their schemes, their wicked ways, and it's going to punish them, right? So on the table is the fruit of their wickedness, the bread of wickedness, and the wine of violence, which accompanies these things, and it's obviously referring to wicked violence, senseless violence, instead of having sense, okay? And when the prostitute, the adulterous woman in Proverbs 7 says that she wants the young man to drink deeply of love with her, she's talking about the wine of wickedness, the bread of wickedness, the wine of violence. Okay, so in Proverbs 5, verse 15 says, drink water from your own cistern, running water from your own well. Should your springs overflow in the streets, your streams of water in the public squares. Let them be yours alone, never to be shared with strangers. So elsewhere in Proverbs, when it says that the sluggard fears the lion in the public squares, it's talking about that kind of clash between the romantic person and the person who's conformed to, rebellion, mere worldliness, people who cheat me out of my right to lead, what have you, and over, the direction of people's souls. Let them be yours alone, never to be shared with strangers. May your fountain be blessed, and may you rejoice in the wife of your youth, a loving doe, a graceful deer. May her breast satisfy you always. May you ever be intoxicated with her love. Why, my son, be intoxicated with another man's wife? Why embrace the bosom of a wayward woman? Notice it uses the word intoxicated, right? Going back to the wine of Christ, the top martial arts, me, versus the wine of violence, okay? For your ways are in full view of the Lord, and he examines all your paths. The evil deeds of the wicked ensnare them. The cords of their sin hold them fast. For lack of discipline they will die spiritually, led astray by their own great folly. So in Proverbs 6, verse 16, it says, there are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him. Haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up conflict in the community with God, obviously. The next section says, warning against adultery. My son, keep your father's command and do not forsake your mother's teaching. Bind them always on your heart, fasten them around your neck. When you walk, they will guide you. When you sleep, they will watch over you. When you awake, they will speak to you. For this command is a lamp, this teaching is a light, and correction and instruction are the way to life, keeping you from your neighbor's wife, from the smooth talk of a wayward woman, right? Literally and figuratively. The city of the wicked, Babylon, for example, okay, spiritually speaking, figuratively speaking, is the wayward woman, right? Jerusalem in this world is the wayward woman, right? It says in Galatians 4, and in the sky, it's the righteous one. Do not lust in your heart after her beauty, or let her captivate you with her eyes. For a prostitute can be had for a loaf of bread, but another man's wife preys on your very life, right? So following the ways of Babylon and trying to cheat me out of my right to leave, thus separating me from the admiration of potential wives, key phrase, potential wives, is is cheating me out of my wife, which is preying on your soul and your offspring's souls. Can a man scoop fire into his lap without his clothes being burned? Can a man walk on hot coals without his feet being scorched? So is he who sleeps with another man's wife. No one who touches her will go unpunished. People do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy his hunger when he is starving. Yet if he is caught, he must pay 7-fold, though it cost him all the wealth of his house. But a man who commits adultery has no sense. Whoever does so destroys himself. Blows and disgrace are his lot, and his shame will never be wiped away, for jealousy arouses a husband's fury, and he will show no mercy when he takes revenge. He will not accept any compensation. He will refuse a bribe, no matter how great it is.